It's been a minute.
Hasn't
Happy
it?
Thursday.
Yeah, you too. How is things with you? It's literally been years.
It has literally been years. You've had a
In fact,
baby?
I saw my friend. I saw my friend who I travelled Australia with
Oh,
back in January, and she said I can't even remember what year it was, 2018 maybe. And I was like, oh my God, was it really that long ago?
no, I have a feeling it could be 2019.
Yes,
I think we met in 2018. I think that flight was 2018 when you were coming back from Thailand, you said.
that's it. Yeah,
And we were on that connecting flight. I'd flown from Australia to wherever that was. And then we were both flying on to the UK.
that's it. Yeah. And we just so happened to sit next to each other.
Well, it was funny because my husband was in business class and he couldn't get me in because they were out of seats. So that was the kismet of how we came to sit beside each other and talk most of the night.
We really did, didn't we? The people around us must have been like, "Oh, do
Well,
these
they
two have
shut up.
a family?"
Trying to sleep here.
Yeah, yeah. It was, and then I've just followed you on Facebook, as in like followed your sort of journeys, and then yeah, when I travelled Australia, I actually came to your house.
Yes, yes. We must have connected. It wouldn't have been over Zoom, but over Messenger or something, another point, because I looked back the other day and we had a connection in 2019 and then 2020.
Yeah, didn't I have an online session
I
with
think
you,
so.
maybe? Yeah,
Yeah.
and then when I came to Australia. So guys, the people watching this, just to give you the lowdown. So as you've probably gathered from this little conversation that Trina and I are trying to work out where how long it's actually been. Trina and I sat next to each other on the flight and did not shut up about everything, wasn't it? It was absolutely everything. Family, guides, life purpose, everything. And then we've just managed to sort of stay in contact. I've never felt like, um, in fact, I do feel like flying is quite a powerful thing. I get a lot of like downloads. Like if I always take a notebook on when I fly because I always have to write stuff down. But that flight felt extra special. It felt like you were made to sit next to me.
I know, it was so incredibly special. I think of it as kismet, those conversations that you get to have that are just so soul enriching and just connecting you to another being and to the divine and the whole sort of network.
Yeah, it was.
Just splendid.
Yeah. So for everyone that doesn't know, what is it that you do, Trina?
Well, this question comes at an interesting time for me because I feel like I have spent 20 years almost going, I know I've got something to offer. I love people. I am curious about people, about life, about how we cope with life, how we navigate it. I'm interested in it, life on Earth, but the big picture as well with, how it all mashes together. But you would appreciate that that's not particularly marketable because it's so broad. Like I was a one-stop shop in many ways. You've got a problem? Come and see me, whatever that is. And even from the point of view of, I knew that I was getting traction for my clients, but as to how to put words to that and describe that for people, I would say to my clients, do you know what I do? And they go, no, we know it works, but we don't know how to describe it. We
I have
don't
to
know how to
say,
put words around it.
yeah, your put around life purpose translator that you've got behind your screen. I actually say that does sum it up really beautifully, doesn't it?
That's the point I find myself in after really seeking lots of different modalities and looking at what other people do. I just can't cope with these vague offerings of the offerings aren't vague, they're specific, but when you actually sign up for them, you walk away going, I still don't really know. I'm no further down the path.
Yeah.
So now I am very big into the 5 Ps, giving people the 5 Ps. Your
Okay.
purpose, who your people are. Let's work out a plan to move you forward. What platform is best for you to operate on? And what price point are you going to use that doesn't have resistance for you? So, and I'm a nut about making sure that's very explicit. We all understand it, what's going on, and it's actually practical that you are walking away understanding more about you and how you're going to move forward, what you're offering, who your people are, how
Yeah.
you how you can speak to them.
And how do you work with finding people's purpose? Because from the conversations we've had, there is an element of guides, wider universe, right? But I also remember the human design. Is it human design aspect?
Well, when I met you, it would have been numerology,
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
but I have moved into human design and gene keys stuff. Not that I'm an
Okay.
expert on either of those, but I just tinker with what I need.
Can you tell us how, like, for those that are watching, what numerology and human design and I've forgotten what the other one was that you said, sorry.
Gene keys.
Gene key, what that is and how people can use that to help understand themselves.
Can I zoom out a little further and
Yeah.
just include all modalities? So, whether it is astrology, whether it is Reiki, whether it is massage, whether it is modern medicine, whatever it is, I see all of those things as being gifts from the divine to help us navigate life.
And divine as in the universe.
Whatever word works for you,
So
whether
for
you
some that
think of
might
that
be
as God, whether you
right.
think of that as Allah, whether you think of that as universe, whatever term aligns with you, yep, that's what I'm talking about. I've learnt more recently the idea that tickles my fancy that there are all of these universes with a sovereign, a divine, whatever, and they're kind of all running an experiment in their own universes to see how expansive they can get. I'm pretty sure that at the time we'd have met, I'd have realized that when we come to Earth and we're playing and experimenting and trying things and growing our souls, that we grow our own soul and we help grow the souls around us through our own growth. If people are open, they're going to grow with you.
Yeah. Okay.
What I didn't realize, which I've learnt a couple of years ago, which this is the tickling my fancy bit, is that not only does that stop at, I probably would have had 3 layers, us, your group, and the earth. It all grows in simpatico. But I've learnt the fourth layer is that the divine also grows. And likewise, when anything else in that system, when the earth grows, we all have the opportunity to expand. When someone in our circle expands, we too can expand. When the divine expands, we can tap into that if we're so inclined and expand. So it's even bigger than just the earthly context, if that makes sense. And so if you subscribe to that, of course, the divine or whatever term you want to use is going to want to provide us with tools that enable this growth, that enrich our experience, because we all win through that.
Yeah, so really, numerology, astrology, working with the moons might not necessarily, it works for some people, might not work for the others. And the idea is that's because you've got to find the one that like the universe talks through to you, right?
Yeah, and sometimes it's in that moment, like, it's
Mhm.
point in time stuff. And some of these modalities, like numerology, is over 10,000 years old. Human design, I think it was around the 1960s that that was channeled.
Oh,
And
okay.
then gene keys, gosh, I think that might have even been the 80s or later than that. Richard Rudd, he's a Brit. That's his system. So
Okay.
these modalities, just to give you a picture of, some of them have been with us for a really long time, like thousands and thousands and thousands of years, which is why I don't call medicine traditional medicine, because it's not the traditional medicine, it's the new medicine
Yeah, yeah,
in the
definitely.
scope of the world. It's only about, 100 years or more old. But it's happening all the time. It's evolving all the time, the offerings. And I think of it like a Bain Marie of take whatever you like, darling one. There's no judgment. Whatever works for you, whatever is going to help you get to that through what you're getting through, what you need to empower you, whatever. Here it all is. Take it as much
Yeah.
as you want, as little, as
And
often.
what a lovely way to view it, rather than like, just take what you fancy. And if it doesn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. Like, I love angel cards. If it doesn't with you, don't worry about it. Just move on from it.
No, no, no. And I feel like, and this is something I've never spoken about publicly before because I was guided not to, but I think things like COVID, which was such a divisive thing, and I'm not going to get into the tin tacks of any of that, but I think moments, and I think we're in a moment now in the world where there's such divisiveness, where people are on different sides of the fence for so many different things, and it feels quite scary for a lot of people. I think these are opportunities to understand and be open hearted and go, well, whatever makes sense to you. That's not hurting me, that opinion. You do you, boo. Whatever feels good for you, let's go with that. But I'm going to do what's best for me over here. And I'm going to try and make sure that that's not going to impact negatively others. I'm just going to do me. And, I would have told you at the time that just over 20 years ago, I was quite unwell and had to leave my 9 to 5 sort of career. And in that process, I tried lots of different modalities to get me well. Homeopathy and, a whole heap of different things. I was desperate to feel well. And some of them just didn't stick at the time. And I just think, do I think that homeopathy is not valuable? No, I think it's absolutely valuable. I just don't think it was what my body and soul needed at that point.
Yeah.
And so it's that. That bit is frustrating because it's kind of like, oh, well, I'll try this. It's kind of like throwing a mud at a wall and seeing what sticks. But what's going to work for me? And it's just like a detective thing of I'm just going to keep going.
And that's where it's quite frustrating for people, isn't it? Like, especially
Yes.
as you reach sort of 30s, you're sort of expected to have your life all together. And, or I had a baby, he's 2 next week. So
Stop it.
now,
He's 2 already.
I know, I
Do
know.
your family think that he is your doppelganger?
Yeah, yeah.
Because every time I see him, I just think, Mini Chloe.
And he's an old soul. He's been here
Is
plenty of
he?
times before. Yeah, he's
Let's.
definitely been here so many times before. Um, But when you go through having children, it changes everything, doesn't it? And I feel like I'm sort of at that is I'm not even sure if it's crossroads because I don't there isn't even options to turn. I feel like I'm maybe at the end of a road. And I remember that even probably when we first met is I just come out of a long relationship. I had just started I just started working at a different at ProDirect, which was like my first sort of employed
Yes.
work. I felt like I was at such a pivotal time there. That year was 100% a like spiritual year for me. Like every single guide had my back that year. But
Oh,
I feel like I'm sort of there similar in a similar situation, but not knowing where I'm going. And I think so many people now, I mean, I've got friends that are in that position of like, I'm okay, but like, I don't know what I want to do. Do I want to stay in this job? Do I want to do this? Maybe people have broken up like from relationships and we're all sort of at this stage where we feel like we should all have our shit together and we don't feel like we do.
I'm going to turn 59 in a couple of weeks. And I still feel like there are times where I think I might have felt like a proper adult for a little bit today.
Yeah.
Maybe not, like I think that that's one of the deliciousness is about life, made up word, is that I think a life lived well is actually you continuing to grow and continuing to seek. And I was just thinking about this the other day for my Trina Loves You Instagram page. I was thinking about what are the signs that tell us that it's time for a redirect? And one of them is that feeling of it doesn't feel quite right anymore. It doesn't feel like it fits me quite properly. And I believe that that is deliberate because it's preparation for you to open up for a change to come in. Like humans are wired in lots of ways as a generalization. We're all different, but as a generalization, we're wired to repeat patterns that work so that we can survive. That's what survival's about. If I do X, Y, and Z, I should be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for us to change, and depending on the person, how change resistant they are, things have to be shaken up quite a bit and feel quite uncomfortable often before people are prepared to engage in, oh, maybe something's got to change. Maybe this relationship has gone as far as it can. Maybe it's time to, despite the fact that, the numbers are good for my job, I'm earning good bucks, it's comfortable, I know where I've got to go, I know what I've got to do. Maybe it's time for the next step. Like we often need a good push with that. I feel like you're quite open to that, but lots of us need a damn good push to go, okay.
And how do people get to that point? Because I actually do. I wouldn't say I'm comfortable with change. No, I'd say I'm I
I'd
don't
say
like.
you're open to it.
Yeah, maybe that is the right word. I am. If something starts to feel sticky, I'm like, okay, let's. I don't like the stickiness, so I'm like, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Gotcha. So you are
Um,
like, yeah, this is not feeling good. Let me get out of this feeling quickly.
yeah, it's
I
similar.
am highly change resistant.
Okay, I've got
I'm in
friends
a
that are high.
situation at the moment where I'm living in New York, but I've got to go. We're leaving in a couple of weeks to go back to Australia. And I'm just realizing about myself, I'm a roots person. Like I know I'm a roots person. So the uprooting for me is always challenging. I will go into denial. I will try to manifest something else. I will, like I'm doing all the things to avoid it. On the other side, I'm highly adaptable, but I've got to get to the point where The feelings of my resistance are that uncomfortable that I go, okay, let me move into acceptance. Okay, like I fully believe we are being looked after in this move, even though I'm arguing the toss.
Yeah. And I guess that's like people coming out of relationships, right? Would you say that the if someone's going through a really tricky breakup, the next step is acceptance?
I think sometimes the step before that is grieving.
Okay.
It is grieving because often, depending on the relationship, but things like when there's narcissism involved or power abuses or whatever, people pleasing on the other side of the coin, sometimes it takes time to really debrief and understand what actually was happening in that relationship because the stories that you've told yourself in order to survive in it are so far from what the actual truth was that it takes time to calibrate those two. And then
Yeah.
once it's calibrated, it's the grieving of who you thought you were, how did I let this happen? Da 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 da. What's happened to me beforehand to shape me for that? How did it take me so long? All of
Absolutely.
those kinds of things start to come into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working with someone currently who's been going through this for over 18 months. And I reckon the first year or more there was the hope that we're going to get back together,
Yeah.
despite the fact that as an outsider I could see what was happening. But you can't rush people into that. They've got to be ready to be in that space, and no one can kind of give them the good old boop, in you go.
Yeah. So from that grieving, it would then go to acceptance.
And maybe the entertaining of hope and planning of what else is possible, what would I like for me? And learning, I think one of the early steps is actually learning again who you are
Yeah.
and learning that you're allowed to have preferences, you're allowed to look after yourself, and you're allowed to take up space. Like that
That's
would be the dream, would be if people could transition into that.
because I'm also seeing across conversations that I have, not just with friends online,
Yeah.
friends like family, people I work with, is there seems to be quite a big trend of this fear of taking up space, fear of being seen, fear of I guess I guess there's an element of fear of understanding yourself so deeply. Because when you understand, what if then that creates too much change? Do you know, like
It
what if,
will.
yeah, and what if so then there's like that stagnant and like the stagnation and the like the repeated of patterns where people stay in this loop because they're scared that what if they change and then their whole life changes.
Even with extreme cases like domestic violence and whatever, and people will often go, well, why don't they just leave? And anyone who says that has got no comprehension of what that dynamic is like because people are wired that even a horrible situation that you know how it works is safer for you to be in than daring to do something different that you have no picture of. You've got no idea what your level of safety will be. You're already vulnerable. Like, this is what we're talking about, not necessarily to this extreme, but there's always a level of vulnerability. And people will stop with what is known often, then take the risk in what is unknown. And that's where the discomfort has to come in. We will only change when something is uncomfortable enough, and your threshold might be different, like yours might be a lot shorter than mine.
Yeah.
I proudly have got quite a huge threshold. Woohoo, go me.
It takes me back to when I just had Frankie, and it was the summer of Frankie, and I just felt I co-owned a gym with a guy that I know and my mum, and have, like say, having a baby changes you. Fully aware of that now. Changes all your priorities, but apparently your brain chemistry and everything.
But
So
you couldn't have known that beforehand. You couldn't have conceived of
no,
that.
and I got to the summer and it
No.
just felt sticky. And there was a few problems that kept arising, kept it all blew up in sort of like the December. No, it's felt a bit sticky in the summer, and I said to my mum, I think I want out, I'm done. She thought it was like this, the postpartum hormones, sort of like, okay, like maybe we just need to get you involved again. They put me on a course, they were really encouraging to try to get me back into it, but there was just something in me that was like, nah, there's something about this, I'm done. And then this whole big situation blew up in December. And I was like, told ya. I knew I was going to be done. I knew I was done. And then my mum has a bigger threshold than me, probably similar to you, where it takes her a while. Like it took a lot of nurturing for me to be like, this is a good idea to get out. Rah 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 rah. And now when we have the conversation about it, like she is fully like, when you change something and when something happens, like you say, I do believe we are being looked after. There's sort of like in that redirection, there's so much strength, isn't there? But yeah, it's fun. How do you believe people, because change is so hard, how do you think people can get comfortable and like push through that discomfort? Because instead of going back and repeating.
I think they've got to be ready. Again, you can't push someone. Spoken from someone who would love to just go, let me help you fix this. I can see what needs to happen. um, I think though that knowing ourselves is really important. And I haven't said about that, but I'm passionate about that. I feel like when we know ourselves and know who we are and start to understand what our patterns are and what we've come here to grow and expand in, when we start to grow awareness and consciousness of that, because we can't deal with anything when we don't know what it is.
Yeah. How do we do that? How do we know who we are? How do we figure that out?
Well, that's where modalities like numerology and probably astrology. I don't know enough about astrology to speak about it, but I'm always so impressed with people who do have that depth of knowledge. Certainly human design, and in fact, that's kind of the work that I'm into now is showing people what their struggle is and how they've transformed that, and then how they can use that to have their own business to support people who are going through the same thing.
So, to summarize, what is human design?
Human design actually melds 5 different ancient modalities, one of which is astrology, another one's quantum physics, which is not that ancient, but sort of it's the scientific explanation of, the majesty of things that have always happened. It's also got it uses the chakras, so it also pulls on modalities from around the world. It uses the I Ching, and there's another one I can't think of off the top of my head at the moment. And I never say his name properly, so I will just say the first. He's American.
Okay.
He's not alive anymore, but he changed his name to Rue something something. And Ra. See, I've even stuffed that up. Ra. That's it. Ra, and he channeled. He was in Spain or something, and he channeled this modality. And so it's working with the circuitry in your body, and it classifies people under 5 different energy types. I'm a projector, so I can see what's happening for people, but I'm not built to, my energy system isn't built for sustained energy. Mine is do a bit, rest a bit, do a bit, rest a bit. There's manifesting generators. I'm married to a manifesting generator. Are you one? I felt like you were going to be that or a generator,
Yeah.
where you've got a
Yeah.
defined root center. So you've got, oh, and no, not necessarily that. You've got a sacral energy.
Yes, which would explain why I lost my period when I was out of alignment, right?
Yes. Yes. You were pushing it, weren't you? Is it
Yeah.
okay to say that?
Yeah.
Um, the thing about like manifesting generators are just a force to be reckoned with. They have got incredible energy, they're multitaskers. Do you recognize that you've got gut guidance?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll never forget when my mum phoned me and said, the gym is good to go. And something in my stomach said, don't do it. And I thought, I wonder if that's just nerves. Is that just nerves? Maybe that's just nerves. Maybe that's just nerves. Yeah, crack on. I'm keen. Who do I transfer the money to?
I will often hear, because my husband he's like a CEO in engineering stuff. So a world away on the surface from the stuff that I do. But I will hear him talking to his team at times and hear him say, "Oh, my gut says," and I think, "Oh, isn't that interesting?" You're a
Yeah.
manifesting generator, you know you've got gut guidance. And for those people who are listening, who are manifesting generators or generators, basically that translates to asking your gut a yes or no question, and it will give you a mm-hmm or a mm-mm kind of response. And this is really important when manifesting generators and generators are stuck. If people around you ask you open-ended questions, what's going on for you, Chloe? That's not going to help you get to the bottom of it. You need someone who will go, is it the gym? Are you worried about the gym? Where you can go yes or no. That's
100%.
gonna that's gonna help you get clarity on what's happening.
So, could this, if understanding what human design you are, could that also help you when it comes to, say, like therapies? So, for example, I've got a friend that will say she's never got on with therapy, can't do it. But so that could potentially mean that that's because it's just too open ended. What's going on for you right now? And she's like, where do I start?
Yeah, I think that it's too finding the person who's got the strategy that is aligning with what you need. And again, that's like throwing mud at a wall, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like, oh. But yeah, it's the aligning of what you need to actually crack through it. And not everyone is going to, I'm not the person for everyone.
Yeah.
And everyone is not the person for me in
And I
terms
guess
of
that's
the
what
clicking.
I've always connected a lot with, I guess, like alternative therapies. So, like working with yourself to understand human design. I've done hypnotherapy. I've done Reiki. I do acupuncture. Like, there's all of that's. I guess I've resonated a lot more than traditional therapies. I wouldn't even say traditional, right? The modern therapies.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I would say modern therapies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I just was thinking about this yesterday. I was recording a reel and I was thinking about the more you get to know yourself and come into alignment with yourself, the more you get great intel on give that a go, do that. Like I've been going to an Ayurvedic doctor the last couple of months
Oh.
because I didn't realize, but I've been living with pain in my left hip for a few years. And distracted by life, get on with it. Who needs what? I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter. I looked after my mother with Alzheimer's for nearly 10 years. You know, you get so in the service of others that you disconnect completely from your own needs, physical being, what, so, you know, the whole kit and caboodle. And so it was only when I was in New York last year that I started to get downloads of you've got gluteal tendinopathy, which can come with postmenopausal stuff. And then I got the guidance, and I had that name of that doctor. Here we go again. I had the name of that doctor for over a year. I carried her pamphlet around. The lady who I love, who I bought lotto tickets from, she gave me the pamphlet. I had it for over a year. Didn't even
Wow.
realize I needed it. And she did some, I don't know what they call it. I don't know they call it dry needling, but I think it's in that ilk. And it's much bigger than that. Don't make me responsible for explaining Ayurvedics. It's much more complex than that and far beyond my comprehension. But all I know is the very next day, no pain in my hip and haven't had any since. And like
Wow.
it was so big that the gutters in New York are a bit higher than the ones at home. And of course, I'm on the subway all the time, so I'm walking up and down stairs. And even now, my body, now this is interesting from a point of view of talking about change and patterns and whatever. Sometimes, even though I haven't had the pain now for a couple of months, maybe 3 months, my body will still respond like if I go to step up a tall gutter, like, oh, this is going to hurt, even though it's not hurting, but it's still holding that energy and that in the body. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think it's about when you're in alignment with yourself, which is like, it's so easy to say, but it's so floaty, like, oh, I am in this split second, but whoops, I'm out again. It's not something that you can lock and load on, but when you know yourself and you're in alignment, you can get that guidance of go and do this. This is what you need. And you've got enough space to be able to receive it.
And I think that's quite key, isn't it? So one way of finding us, of learning to find ourselves, is looking at modalities like human design. But I think you just sum that up perfectly in the sense of like, we've to be able to understand us, we've got to have the space. And in today's world, it's so hard to do that. This year alone, I've pulled back loads on my media agency that I own, and I cancelled a few contracts. And it's given me the space to touch in, to have these conversations, Trina, to be like, oh, I was literally just sat in a coffee shop. And because I had space, because I wasn't rushing around to meetings, I was sat in a coffee shop with my laptop open. It literally said, do your YouTube again. Do your YouTube again, but make it that's around the conversations that you're having every single day. Life purpose, hormones, all of this is what I'm chatting about constantly every single day. And I was like, okay, yeah, I got it. But you bet for the past sort of year with Frankie, where my career has felt really sticky and my agency has felt really quite sticky. I was like, okay, what should I do instead? What should I do instead? What should I do instead? And it was just repeat, 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 and going round and round and round. It was only when I created that space to be like, okay, what is it that I actually want to do? How else can we understand ourselves?
I I feel like it's so important to gather the picture of yourself because I feel like I delegated that out a lot of my life. And I can't tell you how passionate I am I see it as a plinth. You know how statues stand on that base? And I see this base or this plinth as me knowing myself and it giving me the power and the space and the confidence to launch myself from rather than trying to muddle through other people's perceptions of me that are usually wildly off base. So for me to start that process, I use numerology to start getting a picture of myself, what my strengths were, what drove me. I'm a life path 3, but I have 5 3s in my chart, and 3 is the archetype of the divine child. And so there's that playfulness, but it's also the communicator and it's also about expression. You know, I've got a 6 in my chart, and 6 is all about the family. If you think about the number 6, it looks a bit like a pregnant lady. Family is really important to me. And you were talking about space before. When I come to New York, that's the time where I often really expand because I'm away from my family and I've got the space
Of
to
course.
have headspace, create
Yeah.
my day how I want without doing all the other family stuff, which I love doing. But, too much of that means there's not enough space for me to actually be expansive. So yeah, for me, numerology was really big in helping me start that
And we
going.
can do calculators now. There's online calculators for that as
Mm,
well, isn't there? So,
mm.
like, if someone maybe can't afford to come direct to you or whatever, you can research into your own numerology online.
Yes, and I'll tell you right now how you work out the major number in your chart.
Okay.
And this is Pythagorean numerology, which is kind of badly named because I believe he went to places like Babylon and whatever and studied it there. It's not his, but that Western thing where we claim everything. It's ours. We did it.
Yeah.
So you take your date of birth and you then just add all the numbers up. So I'm the 22nd of March, 1967. So
Next
I was,
week.
what's that?
Next week.
Yeah, I've lost track.
Yeah, Frankie
Is
is
it
the
Sunday next week? What's
your
Frankie?
yeah, he's the 20th of March.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Oh, too splendid. He's a
Yeah.
Piscean then, yeah.
I'm
Although
in the
he's near
house.
the cusp.
Yeah, I'm in the house. Oh, I've lost you. I'm in the house with two Pisceans. Oh, are
Oh,
you
are
back?
they quite peaceful souls?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, no, I lied. No, they're both Aries, aren't they? Are you? What are you?
I'm Aries, but Aries is on the 21st.
Yes, that's it. Frankie's right on the cusp.
Cusp.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom's Aries. Yeah,
So he'd be a force to be reckoned with.
yeah. When Tom don't want to do something, he ain't doing it.
And yet I'm an Aries, but my father was a Pisces, and I'm probably tend to be more Piscean than Aries. I don't fire up easily. Anyway,
Yeah, I
that's a
think
whole other conversation.
even though Frankie's on the cusp, I don't know if it's terrible twos, but I can see the Aries in him.
Hello.
Sorry, so you
So,
said about adding them
so
all together.
this is the life path and ruling number.
Okay.
So for me, it would be 2 plus 2, my day number, plus 3, my month number, plus 1967, not plus 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 7.
Yeah.
And I get, when I add those together, a 30. That is my life path. Then I add those two numbers, the 3 and the 0 together. 3. That's my that's my life path. Wait on, what have I done here? Um, no, that's my ruling number. The life path is my 30,
Yeah.
and the ruling number is the single digit. So
Okay.
I would call myself a 30/3.
Okay. And then everyone, like whatever you're there, they can go and research what that means.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do think I know we touched on star signs, but even understanding your star sign, right, is
Whatever
potentially
aligns with you,
just
whatever
help you
feels good.
understand a little bit more about yourself, doesn't it?
You could do card readings on tell me my three biggest pros. Tell me what I'm here to work on. Tell me what
Yeah,
because I do believe in numerology, the way I do it, I've got strengths and challenges for each of the life path and ruling numbers. And I believe that the challenges are actually what we've come here to work on and to try to transmute into strengths.
that's cool.
So by my age, you'd be hoping that I've done a bit of work on that, that I've moved through some of that. And undoubtedly I have, and undoubtedly I've still got more to do. But yeah,
And I
that's
Yeah, and I would say life has got easier the older I've got. And I guess that's because you do build evidence, don't you? You understand, you've been through a lot more to be able to sort of work through things, I guess.
the greater understanding you have of you, what's important to you, what drives you, the easier it is to navigate life because it's like the blindfold is off. That doesn't mean you're skipping through daisies every day, but it means that you've got tools and your plinth is getting bigger and stronger, and you're building that evidence, as you say, to go, well, this worked last time, or, I had that conversation with someone and that showed me this, and I'm going to give that a go, or, whatever it is. But I feel like it's a big experiment. And we're
Yeah,
just in there trying to work out who we are. Because the Earth School is one of the few places where we have our memory wiped before we can come in. So we were a part of the planning process of what we were going to do in this life and what it was going to look like and who was going to play what role and what role were we going to play for others. And
I remember this from our flight. You
oh, you
said
are
to
good.
me, yeah, you said to me, so I have got my mum, my dad, I've got a stepdad, and I've got a stepmom. My stepdad and my stepmom are just like another mum and dad. And you said to me that I probably in a past life maybe had a difficult relationships with my parents. So this life I chose to have four.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. And it resonated with me so
Oh,
much.
I love that.
It gives me goosebumps thinking about it because I was like, yeah, that does it. Like, just making sense of things. You're like, okay, that
I
might be a load of
know.
crap, but that provides me with so much comfort in that actually, like, I chose to have four.
Of course.
And
Of
then how
course.
lovely it is to think when I always think that like Frankie chose us to be his parents.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yes.
So really what you're saying is that across it, yeah, we should play the game of getting to know ourselves.
It's actually the board game, the game of life, in real time.
I love
We're
that. I
we're
feel like
playing
it's
the game of life.
And I feel like if you can inject some game and playfulness into it, like, I'll try this. Wonder if I like it. Oh, don't like that. That's fine. And I feel lighter from this conversation, Trina, because it
Oh.
reminded me of the conversations that we had when I saw you
Mm.
in Australia and also on the flight, but also like just that big reminder that like life doesn't have to be this hard. And when you're trying to find out about yourself, you can just have a bit of fun with it because we don't know the definite answers.
No, no, we don't. We don't. We're not meant to. But we're
Yeah.
just here to play and explore and, find our way through, help ourselves, help others,
And
see
how
how far we can expand.
it just feels more, it's made the day feel more exciting when it feels like this conversation's helped take the cape off or like the heaviness of the cape of trying, okay, right, I've tried this. So like for another example is I've just had blood tests back today. A lot of things have improved, but my iron is back really quite low. And I'm like, right, okay, I'll start remembering to take my supplements again. I'll try. And it just like there's no playfulness, And I think this conversation has like enabled me, yeah, help take that cape off a bit of just being like, okay, it's fine. I don't need to have all of the answers. I can just play around to see if something sticks.
The more in alignment you are, that resonates within our body. Like I'm so big into the metaphysical stuff. And for iron, it's often around receiving. How good are you at receiving and absorb it? Because you think about iron is about
Yeah.
absorbing nutrients, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And
Yeah.
so, like, and at this point, and this was what I was thinking of before, sadly, within our culture, most relationships are under a huge amount of threat in the first 2 years of a child being born because it's so much pressure. There's so much happening. The relationship goes from being a two to a three, and that third one can be random and demanding and
Keeps you up at night.
that's the sleep deprivation, the sleep deprivation. So it's almost like you're in this terrible situation of, being tortured to some extent. I know I'm not painting it beautifully, but it is challenging. It's super challenging. It challenges you on so many levels. And so, like, I feel like, and I could be really wrong, and I don't have a pendulum near me to actually test it, I don't think. But I'm thinking about, you're in this phase of life where you've been trying to control what comes next and feeling like there's going to be, you know that feeling of there's a change coming, baby. So you've probably gone into, the right, let's make things happen. What's possible, the maniac mode, which I'm
Yeah.
really familiar with too. Um, So I don't know how much you've just been receiving and letting things happen for you. And of course, everything we think, the body then reflects that, it takes it on. But our bodies are changing all the time. They're refreshing all the time. So if we change our thinking and the way we're speaking to ourselves, that reflects in the body. And something big like receiving, and this is hilarious because this was one of the few notes. I looked over the notes that I had from our sessions the other day,
Mm.
and this is the only note that I remember, which is so funny because I thought, oh, yeah, I'd forgotten a little bit about that analogy. But giving and receiving came up for you. I hope this is okay to share. Are you comfortable?
Yeah, yeah.
Giving and receiving came up for you all those years ago. And the analogy is the tide. The tide comes in, the tide goes out twice a day. It's all in flow. You can't, and this is a great message for a lot of women and some men, but for a lot of women, we're taught that our value is in giving to others. Caveat to others, not necessarily to ourselves. Hopefully, we're getting some transformation with that thinking. But, a good wife, a good mother, a good partner, a good blah blah, insert whatever word, is often someone who is committed to giving to others. That's how our value has been measured. And that's what we've been taught to do. That's what a good girl does. Keep small, don't complain, give to others, do for others. And so that sets up a pattern really young of not receiving, that giving is more important and valuable than receiving. And it's something that I often struggle with myself of, how can I be, because I'm so self-sufficient in lots of ways. I'm so used to meeting my own needs
Yeah.
because that's how I've been shaped to be. But that's not the model that we want because it's a deficit model. You can't give, you cannot be high vibration when you are running on fumes. It is impossible.
Yeah. So how interesting that something that came up all those years ago comes up again.
I know, but isn't that the way though? It's like that old
It,
adage of the onion peel, the layers.
yes. And I feel like the universe has been like, hey, Chloe, remember? Remember this? Oh yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah, literally. Trina, I feel like we could talk for hours. I think I would like to book in an actual session with you. Your work sounds incredible. For
Oh,
now, I'll
thank
let you
you.
go and enjoy the rest of your day. But
Well,
it's been
you've got some exciting things to look forward to. I'm excited for you.
yeah, yeah, I know. Off to my wedding dress fitting now,
When are you
and
getting married?
end of May,
Oh, how
30th of May.
delightful. Will you
Yeah.
post some photos of
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
how
I'll send you
beautiful.
some. But yeah, hopefully we can chat before then. But for now, I shall let you go and enjoy your day in New York.
Thanks for the opportunity. I've loved connecting, and I warmly invite anyone who it feels in alignment with to pop on to Trina Loves You, or I'm on Facebook at trina.lifestrategist.
Yeah, I'll pop your details in the notes down below so
Oh,
then people can find
thanks.
you. And I'll
Thanks for the
obviously share this
opportunity.
on my Instagram as well. But
Oh,
yeah.
thank you. I've loved getting to connect with you again. You're so precious.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day, won't you? See you later.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.